But when information goes up on the website, will there be a link to every local government? In some cases, it might not go anywhere, but will there actually be a reminder there that some governments are not participating?
It's a great question, Jim. We have not discussed how to handle local governments as far as when you click on the website, how to handle local governments that have not yet put their information on there. I think that's a good idea, though, that it would probably remind citizens in their area that their local government is one of the ones not to say yes. I guess to take it was a question, but take your suggestion one step further, and my staff maybe can note this. We could probably put on there, this local government has not yet volunteered. If you want to encourage them to do so, here's the name and phone number of the county commissioners or the school board members of the.
Remember, you suggested
that. Good suggestion, Jim.
Josh, so in other words, are you saying that this is a preemptive strike then for a possible bill in the General Assembly to require the local governments to participate in this?
We do not have any plans to introduce a bill in the General Assembly. As of now, we'd like to, as Sue mentioned, articulate. We'd like to really do this in a voluntary type nature with the local governments. We're taking the long view. We recognize the fact, especially with some of the smaller municipalities, villages, counties, schools. A lot of them are cash strapped, and a lot of them don't have the resources to drop everything they're doing and focus on this. And so we're going to be patient, and we're going to work with them. Now, over time, if it gets, if we get to the point where there's some local governments that are just refusing to do it, we'll have a conversation at that point about what the best way forward is. But as of now, we have no plans on introducing legislation. Really, we had a conversation about this in our office. Should we go a legislative route and try to require it, or should we reach out to the associations and do it in a partnership? And I think what you see evidenced by who's standing behind me right now is we chose the latter route. And rather than introducing legislation, we chose to reach out to the townships, the schools, the cities, the villages, the counties, and try to do this in a friendly, cooperative way. What I've said to my staff is, I don't think we need to get to 3,900 local governments in order to get to 3,900 local governments. I think there's probably a tipping point. So what happens is, after we get to a certain amount of local governments, it's most likely going to get uncomfortable for the ones that haven't put theirs online. And so over time, once you have many cities, counties, townships, and schools that have put it online, and you have one or two outliers in a certain area, I think it's going to get uncomfortable for that community that might be surrounded by other communities that have already put their finances online. And so we're hoping that local governments can encourage each other to do the right thing, and frankly, we're hoping that the media will, in a friendly way, encourage local governments to do the right thing as well. And so, to answer your question, we don't have any plans right now to introduce legislation. We chose to go a different route and really do this in a friendly, cooperative way where we're voluntarily standing shoulder to shoulder with the associations you see standing here today. And I'd like to thank them. As Sue mentioned, we didn't call them all yesterday. We've reached out to them in the past, some of them weeks ago, months ago, to start a conversation and talk about what we're doing here. And so this has been an ongoing conversation with a lot of these associations. And I can tell you this morning, as I was coming down here, I had a half-hour conversation with the mayor of a relatively large city here in the state of Ohio. And this mayor is transferring from one accounting system to another accounting system. And so he had on the phone his budget director as well. And we were having this conversation on the phone about how and when their transfer would work from one accounting system to another. And so just because it might take time for some of these cities, counties, and schools to get online doesn't necessarily mean that they don't want to do it. And I want to give the benefit of the doubt to the local governments that some of them might be dealing with very complicated obstacles, changing different accounting systems, and also some of them might be dealing with a lack of resources. If you have a township with 200 people, there's just not a lot of bodies there to get it done. And so my staff here in the Treasurer's office is going to be driving around the state, working with these local governments, working with OpenGov to help these local governments do this. And so we really like to partner with them and help them do it. And at this point in time, we don't think that there's need for legislation.
Josh, 2 transparency questions. How much is Mr. Bookman's contract going to be or is? And can you give us a ballpark idea about how much the cost would be to have these local governments join? I know it's a variable depending on participation, but can you give us an idea of that?
Sure. As soon as there's a contract signed, we'll get it to you right away. There is not one signed yet. There's ongoing discussions. Most likely, there will be, the reason I said earlier, there's going to be a changing price based on how many local governments sign up, is because, for instance, Franklin County will cost more to onboard, most likely, than a township with 200 people. And so I personally am not involved with those discussions, but staff in my office is currently discussing with staff with OpenGov where the prices are going to be set as far as a Cuyahoga County or a Franklin County or Hamilton County, but also a small township or village with a few hundred people. And so as soon as there's a contract in place, we can send it out to all the people who are here represented at the table.
So, I mean, are we talking hundreds of thousands, tens of millions? I mean, what's the kind of the ballpark for how much your office will have to spend to do this?
Good question. So over the past 4 years, as I mentioned, we've cut about $6 million voluntarily from our budget. We don't think it'll be anywhere near that. So we think we can pay for this, contained with savings, within the dollars that we voluntarily cut from our office. And so when we have an exact number, we can get it to you. We just don't have a number, and frankly, the number is going to shift and change based on how many local governments sign up.